All right. All right. Jumping back on. What's going on, guys? Can't remember the last time we went live, but it's probably been maybe a month or so. Lot of stuff in motion. Lot of action. So we'll try to jump on as we can. I'll try to jump on as I can, and get right with you guys as I can. But I got a couple things I want to jump into today. Before we jump on to all that, if you're not subscribed to, the channel, definitely subscribe, definitely follow along, just to kind of reset the room. We are, essentially, sharing a lot of the stuff that we do. I'm sharing a lot of stuff that I do on both the Bagverse side and what I do for influencers and creators. So, creating a lot of content around some of the, software that we build, the systems that we build, making sure you guys are up to date on the latest news and different, updates in the AI space and the software space. So, if you're into those type of things, definitely follow along. So we got the YouTube, we got the Twitch, and then we're also all across all the different socials. I have a bunch of the links and descriptions in the description. We have a blog.bagverse. Definitely check it out. We'll have some more stuff on the curation line side as well. So, you know, definitely follow along and stay in tune with what we got going on. So, get my camera right. Make sure I'm centered. So I want to couple things that I want to get into today. There's been a lot of news that happened over the last month or so in the AI space that a lot of this is something moving and something changing every 7 days, if you want to be honest with you. Every week there's new news, there's new stuff that you want to stay on top of and be aware of. But not everything is needed. You don't need to, know every single aspect of what's changing. You need to know what you need to know so that you can maximize the most of what AI can do for, you and whatever it is that you're building. So for me, I like to stay abreast a lot on the content creation side, a lot on the coding side, a lot on the you know um, anything that pertains to like a lot of the creation and like how to integrate a lot of these tools, because that's what we do. I do a lot of piecing together all these different systems for clients as a whole. So it's definitely something that I like to make sure that I'm, on top of and that I'm aware of what's moving in that space. So trying to make sure I feel like my camera game ain't right now. My camera game right. Hang on. All right, that feels a little bit better. Yeah. So it's a lot of updates that came out. I think the one that I want to start with is obviously Apple had their WDC recently, and that's their essentially like their kind of like rundown of what to expect next. You know, with the next iOS release. So a lot of news there. And here's where I usually like to start. I use Grok as like my sort of like summarization of latest news and what I should be aware of. So let's take a look at it. There was a couple things there that I thought were pretty interesting. Nothing to me personally, nothing too impactful. They definitely still are straddling the line of how much they want to really talk on and communicate like what they're doing in the AI space. So, I think that they're still playing it safe there. But let's just kind of let's look at the top. WDC conference recently. So I think they're unifying all of their versions across all of platforms. So it's just going to all be it's going to be iOS 26, iPad 26, Mac OS 26, which is great to kind of just streamline everything, make sure each device is sort of like operating from the same starting place. And it also just makes it easier for developers when you're building for all these different ecosystems. And as a user too, you just know that, and we've seen this steady sort of like approach towards essentially just like, making the experience cohesive across all platforms. So like, I have an iPad, I have a MacBook Mini, I have a MacBook, I have a Mac Mini, I have an iPhone. Literally, when I pick up each device, I'm starting to notice less and less that what's the difference between each device, which can be a good or a bad thing. The power on each one of these devices is getting stronger in terms of the iPad and the iPhone. So there's a lot of things that I can do on the go where sometimes I won't even need to pick up my MacBook or my Mac Mini. So, I'm locked into the iOS ecosystem. So to me, it's definitely something that makes sense. And I think that, you know, it's going to be something that's beneficial for developers and users going forward, that each OS is going to be numbered the same essentially. Um, naming convention, liquid glass. This is something where like looking at it, it didn't really stand out too much to me. I didn't really think that it really. I didn't see a big difference, but a lot of times you kind of need to have it in hand. A lot of times when they're announcing a lot of these updates, I need to see it in hand before I really can like gauge the difference. That's one of the great things about going to these conferences in real time. You get to see what exactly the update looks like, and how that will really look in real life. So you don't know until you actually get there and you get it in your hand. So I'm not too crazy about this one. Just I got to see it before I really like jump on board with it. But essentially, like it's kind of like a glass feel to it. Um, you know, like things will hover over, and it kind of just feels like it's glass. I got to see this in person before I really like jump out the fence about it. But again, I think that that's Apple just doing. They do a good job of just always like they might not be super innovative and blow us away with like something that's gonna like shift the entire space, but they incrementally add these small nuances that just keep you locked in, keep you wanting to stay, on top of their game, and keep people into the system, and they have that right polish. So I think it's gonna look pretty cool, but I can't really gauge it until I get it in hand. What else? This is something that I'm looking forward to, because I have started to become a power user on my iPad. So right now I'm streaming from my Mac Mini. Really, definitely still loving the purchase. Definitely still loving that I got this Mac Mini. It's been a great, experience. But when I'm on the go, sometimes I sort of like decide if I want to have my iPad or my MacBook, and I've been able to start like gradually, unless I'm like hardcore coding, I don't need my MacBook Pro. I can go with the iPad, and I can still get all other forms of work done and not feel like it's cumbersome. I pair it with a wireless keyboard. I have the Apple Pencil. I have the stand so that I can have it raised up, and I've been able to get a whole lot done there. So I like that they're moving towards just adding more and more. So this is going to the same video. We can kind of jump to the same video. I like that they're adding more and more. I'm not going to go into all the different updates that they packed into the new iOS. I want to jump to the iPad stuff. Spam detection. So, and that's sort of like Apple's approach, and I'll get to that in a second. I just want to find. Did I touch on that? Yeah. Did they leave it towards the back? I guess. Windows on iPad. So now you can essentially like the same way, you guys probably don't hear that, but basically the same way that you know have Windows on your Mac, you can now have that on the iPad, which is to me is going to be a really nice addition. Because I'm beginning to do more and more work on my iPad. I think that you know it's just going to add another layer there that's going to make it useful for me to really get what I need done on my iPad while I'm on the go. Stay lightweight. You know, I have the MacBook, excuse me, the iPad 11, so it's iPad Pro 11-inch. So you know it's a great size. And then when I'm taking flights, when I'm on the road, when I'm working somewhere, I'm at a conference, or I'm giving a presentation, I don't necessarily have to have my MacBook. I actually just gave a talk recently at a school, and we'll touch on that later. And I was able to sort of like just project everything from my Mac, from my iPad to the screen, and it worked out perfectly. So I brought both just to be safe, but now moving forward, I know I'm good with just my iPad. So you know, just a good touch there. Um, and multitasking. So that's gonna be cool. So I think that this was a pretty cool. So Apple Intelligence, you know, people have touched on it for a while now. It's definitely something that you know many people have sort of like talked about how we're disappointed in Apple Intelligence as a whole. I do use Apple Intelligence. I use it when I'm crafting a quick email and I maybe want it to sound a little bit more friendly. Like I like the writing tools for quick hitters. If it's an email, if it's a text message, if it's you know, if it's something that doesn't take a lot of context and it's a quick message that I'm sending out. I've been a big user of the writing tools there. I think it's actually pretty good. I normally like cross reference it with Grammarly to see if like maybe I'll run it through Grammarly and then I'll run it through Apple Intelligence just to add like a more personalized vibe to it. And I think it's capturing my voice to a certain extent when it does that. I don't know if that's just by accident or if it's just like taking into account all the massive texts that I sent over the years of iOS. But I'm a fan of writing tools. I have not really leveraged a lot of the Apple Intelligence inside of photos. I do some searches. I haven't like created any memories just yet. I've noticed some sluggishness there. I have the iPhone 15 Pro. I did see that they snuck in vision intelligence, I believe is what you call it, on the 15 Pro. I thought it was only going to be 16 Pro. So I use that here and there, but it's like how many times are you really identifying a pet? I don't own a pet, so it's not something that's like in my workflow or something that I do a lot of. So you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you kind of use it as you need to, and if you don't, then you don't. So all in all, I mean, they definitely fallen behind in terms of like, you know, I don't think their ultimate goal was to have their own model and be a stable in that space, such as like ChatGPT and Claude. I think that their approach is just to implement a stable model into all the existing flows, which is what they kind of touched on during during this you know during this presentation, is that Apple Intelligence is going to start to live in more and more things, right? So you know, just kind of like quickly, you know, you got Apple Intelligence is going to be Apple Intelligence is what's powering things like spam call detection. They're using their on-device models to sort of do things like that, right? Um, you know, being able to have messages in background, I'm pretty sure that, and I think that they touched on that, that's going to be powered by their AI models, right? Genmoji, I used it a bit when it first launched, just kind of like having fun with my family, but do I use it that much? I don't know. You know, I use it as I need. I think live translation is going to be a pretty big one. Um, Meta, I have the Meta Ray Bans, and I'll touch on some other updates there, and that's a really cool feature. So I think Apple knows that that's going to be needed there. Definitely cool. What else did they probably bake? So like their approach, like I said, is just going to be Apple Intelligence, iMessages, and Watch. So what was this one again? forgot what this one was. So Apple Intelligence essentially is going to do live translation in messages, right? So if you're messaging someone that speaks a different language, you can now, message them. So that's going to be, I didn't actually need to see shortcuts intelligence.
At a specific time of day.
So this,
or when you take actions like saving a file to a folder or connecting to a display.
This is actually a pretty big one because I am a big user of shortcuts. So it kind of was AI agents before AI agents. It was their workaround. But now that you add the power of a large language model, which will be on device, you can now really streamline and really like take shortcuts to a whole nother level, right? So I think that this is going to be a really smart move for Apple. I think that again, they don't have to go the route of rushing to have the best model in place. They just need to make sure that it integrates really well with the infrastructure and the footprint that they already have, and it just makes the tools that we currently already use even more powerful. I think that this was another big update too. That no, so not this one. Spotlight on the Mac just got super powerful. Some people are users of I think it was called Raycast. I never used this app. So essentially, like Raycast, I'm a big user of Spotlight. I use it all the time when I'm trying to find an app, when I'm doing anything. So now they're bringing in a lot of the features that Raycast already had. They're bringing that into Mac. So, a lot of times these WDC announcements are kind of like, I forgot to put my light on. These WC announcements are kind of like, startup killers is what they say. So yeah, I mean, I think all in all, these were really cool updates. Again, nothing here really like blew me away, but I think we're past that point, and I think that that's something that not to say that we shouldn't want innovate. I think there is a lot of innovation. I think some of it goes unnoticed because it's Apple, and because we just set the bar so high that we don't realize that they are baking a lot of new and exciting features into each one of these releases. But again, it's something where they don't have to like reinvent the wheel every single time. They're just baking in better functionality into existing features. So I'm looking forward to some of these. I don't normally like go off and I used to. I might. I have my developer account. I don't normally go off and download the beta versions to start playing with it, but maybe I will. Maybe I might. Check it out, see what's going on. But yeah, good stuff there. Other news that again, there's been a whole bunch of news, but something that I thought was pretty interesting was ChatGPT's announcement. Right. So this was a pretty big one, right? This happened in May, late May at some point. So ChatGPT acquired Johnny Ive, who is, he's a legend in the game of design. He designed some of the products that a lot of us use right now, where it comes to iPhone, iPad, MacBooks. He was during that Steve Jobs run at Apple, and even during the Tim Cook run. Johnny Ive is a staple in the design world. So OpenAI acquired his IO company and they made an announcement around this new device, which will be, sort of like this new frontier of a device that's built for AI, not built around AI, right? So like right now we've been functioning in a space where, like we're interacting with AI and chatbots, right? Like that's sort of like been the default. I want to see if I can find that video because something else that came up. We're living in this default sort of like chatbot functionality when we're interacting with AI, right? Like you text it something and you get back a blurb of text that you then now could do something with, or you texted something and it comes back with an image, right? But is that the question there was like, was that the intent? Is that the final form? Which I don't think it is. I think AI will be baked into more of our more natural flows, voice, visual, and we will probably start moving away from a chatbot where you're not like just only texting it, where you're actually just interacting with it the same way you interact with another person or another another structure of that case, right? So what they really sort of like start to drive home was like, this is going to be something that changes the way that we interact with the way that we interact with AI, right? So it's still a lot to understand. Nothing has been formally announced, and there's definitely been a lot of like speculation on what it could possibly be. Um, I'm kind of just like, I'm curious to see what it would be. I'm curious to see if it's something that I would, So I've been seeing some sort of like announcement around like maybe like a pin of some sort. So I guess they took it down. There was a video that was out. Let's see, this one. I'm gonna try to find a video, but I mean, I think it's something that's it's still so vague right now that I don't know what to think of it just yet. I do think that it will be interesting, and I do think that like if we're going by history, Johnny Ives has definitely delivered on you know some of the products that truly have defined our generation, right? Like that have defined how we interact with how we interact with a lot of devices. So if we're going by his track record, this is they got something in the works here. Do I think that if I'm Apple, am I like concerned? I think you got to take a wait and see. Again, I just think that like Apple's in a space where, they've been so ahead of the curve for so long, and they just have such a stronghold on the footprint of how people interact with devices. I don't think it's that hard for them to, you know, I think that their approach of like always taking that, all right, we'll wait and we'll see. We'll see if they come with something that even warrants our attention, or, if we need to double down and jump into that space, we'll do it. But I don't think it's something where um, it's like, oh, we have to respond right now. How are we not here? How are we not really like, doing this as well? So, there's been a ton of talk on this. This is like I said, this is not a really super new announcement. And it's just so vague still that, you know, not many people know what to expect here, right? Like everybody's still speculating because they haven't really touched on exactly what this device could be. Some people are speculating it could be. I'll pull this up. Um, what I've been seeing a lot of speculation around is like kind of like a pin sort of thing. I'll show this video. Um,
Well, the iPhone changed the world. And to be honest, it's gotten really boring over the years. And not only
So-
boring, but pretty unhealthy too. Think about how many hours a day you spend scrolling on a timeline. Is that really what technology is supposed to do for you? So Sam Altman and the team challenged Johnny to create the next generation iPhone, one that's built using AI first. And what the hell is that going to look like? Well, there's a lot of speculation. I have some takes because I'm obsessed. And the thinking is this: you'll have 3 devices: your phone, your laptop, and whatever this new thing is. And the new thing comes along with you everywhere you go. It's your companion. It has a camera that sees, it has microphones that hear, it has speakers that talk. So it'll be aware of your conversations, aware of the places you go, of the things you see. And it can leverage these AI capabilities to be your teacher or your psychologist or even your best friend. And it's this little thing that probably sits on your desk and can go into your pocket. And if it sounds a little dystopian, it probably...
So I think this is where, I mean, it's still speculation, right? But I think that like this announcement might put too much pressure on what this device will ultimately be. Because if it ultimately ends up being something like this, where it is kind of just like a recorder to a certain extent, that's like taking in all the context of you as you walk around, that's already out there. And when I say it's already out there, I have already been a big user of the Meta Ray-Bans, right? Like, these are really cool. I actually got these as a Father's Day gift, and these have been amazing. Like, I really like them. They're, you know, very stylish. They look just like Ray-Bans. They are Ray-Bans. You know, you have your cameras here on each corner. The audio system on these are amazing. So like I can sit there, I can be listening to music or having a conversation with Meta or on the phone, and no one can hear it unless you're really pretty close to me. But the speakers is over the air audio technology. So it's like, this is what is Johnny Ives going to do that's different from this? If it is a pen, I wouldn't carry a pen around. I think there was another AI company that tried something like that and they failed pretty drastically. I think Marquez Brownlee had did the Humane's AI pen, right? So if you're coming with something like that, then what? This has been super practical, right? Like, these are stylish. I actually like wear these while I'm out. So it's not like I'm inhibiting or I'm changing my already like style and my flow. So I'm just curious to see exactly what they will do differently. I do agree with that video when it said that the next iteration of devices, it's going to be an extension of your iPhone, right? Because like I said, Apple has already captured Apple, you know, Android to a certain extent, they have already captured that phone sort of like device, right? And then you also have the watch, which is another integration, right? So I don't foresee this device being like a new phone. I don't think you want to go head to head with Apple with an AI phone. So that's why I think that, you know, while the announcement was cool, and there's been speculation on if the video was actually if the video was AI or if it actually was Johnny Ives and Sam Altman. I've heard some talks about that, not entirely sure, but yeah, I mean, you know, we'll see. We'll see exactly what comes out of it. All of it is speculation right now, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm already a big user of the Meta Ray-Bans. I've been taking some really cool videos with it while I'm like biking or walking, or when I take my son swimming lessons, and you can stay hands free, and it doesn't like impede on the moment, so you get candid moments recorded. So I do agree that the next phase of devices is something that takes us away from just constantly like sitting there scrolling and not really being in the moment. What that will be, I'm not entirely sure. I think this announcement was pretty big, but I gotta wait and see exactly what comes out of it. I'm gonna pause right quick, guys, and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Quick bio break. So yeah. Like I said, I think it's something that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to see exactly what it will be. But I do agree that it is something that's going to be an extension of what we already have, and that's why I think that Apple is. They know they're in a position of power, right? Like, hey, we can kind of take our time. I do agree that they did not deliver on Apple Intelligence, but there are some features that I use. There's some features where it's just like, maybe I use it, maybe I don't. But as they bake it into more and more of the existing ecosystem, I think the shortcut integration is going to be pretty big because I'm a shortcut user already. Um, Obviously, we need to get Siri better. Siri is just horrible. But once they do, that's a game changer, right? Like, I'm going to use Siri. Like, I want to. I want to use Siri. So, like, yeah, right now, I do catch myself. I use Grok as sort of like my personal assistant when I want to like just quickly, think about something, or have a conversation with something. I use Grok. The reason why I go with Grok is because I also get the Twitter blue check, so I just kind of like been going with Grok. But that could function between Grok or ChatGPT depending on the month. The thing with these services is that it's subscription based, so if you don't want to use it this month, you don't have to use it. Claude is like my heavy duty, like when I'm doing big work and I want to think about something that's pretty like extensive, and I'm like working on a project or I'm talking with a client or working on a new business venture. Claude is my go-to. Meta AI, like I said, I have been using it now more because I have the Ray-Bans, but this would be like, it's kind of like a switch between this and Grok, depending on the day. If I have these on, then I'm going to use Meta AI. So yeah, but once Siri gets better, I'll probably use Siri. Like I'll probably, which a lot of people will most likely transition to, right? And the other update on the Apple side that I thought was pretty interesting is that they are also making their uh, they're making so they're going to open up their large language models on device to developers, right? So, with Apple Intelligence Foundation Models Framework. So Foundations Models Framework that allows integration of Apple's on-device LLMs into third-party apps. So essentially, instead of your application having to make it out. So currently, how it probably works, if an app that you're using installed on your phone markets himself as having AI capabilities, what's happening is that app is making an outside web call to either, maybe they have their own in-house models, or they're making a call to ChatGPT or Claude. They're processing the data and then they're sending it back to your phone. With this approach, the developers will now be able to make that call all on device, so no need for a separate web call. It'll be more, secure, because that's what Apple has built their large language models on top of. Obviously, the efficiency will be there. We don't know if it will perform as well. So this is where the question becomes: is Apple capable of building a model that performs just as well and can do the things that ChatGPT models and Claude and Google models can do? So that still remains to be seen. And looking at Siri, no, but they haven't baked into Siri as well, so I won't say no there. Writing tools, I think, is pretty good. Like, for all the flack that they have gotten, I think writing tools is decent. I wouldn't. I use it, like I said, I use it as a quick hitter and as something where you're essentially like brushing over a quick email and you're formatting something. Genmoji is fun. I don't think it's anywhere near what like a Midjourney can do. And I don't know if Apple aims to ever get there, but if they are going to open up these models to developers will be looking for that level of capability. So I'll probably play around with this as well for some of my other ventures. But good stuff there. Yeah. So those were some of the key. Oh, and the other thing, the other sort of like large update that came out recently, over the last few weeks or so, or month, is Google. I think Google came out firing, right? Google came out firing, and I said this on a video previously, is that Google is really well positioned to really own the AI space, and I think that their latest Google I/O event, I think, yeah, then they call it Google I/O. I think they really showed, this is what we have, this is what we're capable of. Here's the same way I said that Apple has the footprint with the physical devices. I think Google has the footprint when it comes to the reach and the existing data moat. Like, they already have access to all searches. They can build on top of that. They essentially cornered the web, which is the moat that you can build around any business that you're building in the AI space. Is what data do you have available? AI is only as good as the data that it can take in and then it can process. And I think that I'll jump into some links, but I think that Google really showed that, right? And I think that a lot of people just aren't. What Google always doesn't do a good job of is just like making all of their and I'll kind of go through this, is making all their tools accessible in one place, or like making it so that it's a cohesive experience. The thing with Apple, yeah, they might be taking their time, maybe they didn't nail it, but you know that it's going to all piece together in a way that just like is so seamless, right? Whereas with Google, it's like you have Gemini, you have, and I'm learning about some, you have VEO3, VO3, you have Whisper, you have, it's just so many different tools that you're never really entirely sure where to go to get the tools that they have. And like, they have some great tools. Like, I'm a big user of Notebook LM, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't even know that Notebook LM is out there, or that it's owned by Google, and that it's a great AI tool. So it's like, that's where Google normally falls short. But we'll kind of just go down. So the biggest ones that came out for me were VO3. I'm gonna give a demo on that, and kind of just show you guys that, kind of like just how powerful it is, and some of the ways that I'm gonna potentially start using it, and already have started using it. So yeah, so let's see. In terms of updates, deep search, a labs feature for in-depth research allowing users to generate reports. So they already had deep search. No, actually, sorry, I think they just added deep search to Gemini. No, I think they already had deep research. So Search Live, powered by Project Astra. So let's use interact with search via voice and camera. So again, some features that were already out there in ChatGPT. I'm waiting for Claude to get this in the voice. Ticket buying assistant. Again, this is where I think that Google can really separate themselves, because like they've already cornered the market of the web, right? They already are the underpinning of the connectivity on the web. So like they can do things like build agents that make it super easy to buy tickets, make agents that make it super easy to try on different items, right? So I actually have started playing with some of these tools, but this is where I kind of, and I don't know if I still need to kind of like really get a handle on where all these tools live. But it's like I said, it's just one of those things with how Google does things, where it's just like you don't really know where everything is, or just like how to get to it. But I did set up, let me just log in. Just getting in. Okay, so I did set up. I have this. So this Google Studios is kind of like the hub for everything. At least how I understand it. And yeah, so Google Studios is essentially like the hub for all the tools, but there are other places where you can go to see things, and that's where I'm like still like I've been playing around with some of these tools, but then you also have then you have Google Labs. It's just so spread out all over the place. Like you can tell that there's just no cohesion between all of these different services that they are offering, right? So this is Google Studios. This is where you would get your API key, similar to like when you're using ChatGPT or whatever, and you want to interact with the API, right? So then stream. So this is where you could talk to Gemini, but Gemini also has its own, just basically like Gemini, right? I'll pull that up in a second, because then I'm gonna pull these up just to kind of show you just how segmented Google has kind of like done it, which it just makes it hard for adoption, because as a user or as a casual user, it just makes it hard, where it's just like I don't know where to go or like where I should start. I'm just like, even right now, like sometimes I don't use Gemini too much. It's not something that I feel like has really like moved, because that's the other thing, like switching costs isn't as high, but it can be kind of high now that like once it gets you. So like when it comes to like just like using AI for personal things, like knowing what's the latest news or like a quick question that I might have, that's easy. Like you can switch between the different tools that are out there. But when it comes to like, you're doing work with it, I think that switching costs are going to become higher and higher, because you have all your context in one place, and you kind of don't want to have to like switch between dumping all that out. But okay, so this is Gemini. Gemini, you can create videos here. So I think I can create it on here. I have the pro version. I'll just say generate video of the OKC Thunder celebrating winning the NBA championship. Let's just see what it comes back with. So this is using the new VEO3 model. We'll see how long it takes and what comes back with. But you can also interact with Gemini in the studio, which a lot of other tools do too, but I think it's just pared down. It's not as strong there. And then now in studio, you have image generation, but I don't believe that it's using the latest model. Yeah, so these are the different models that's available here. If you do want to use VEO in the studio, it only goes up to VEO3. So if you want to actually use the latest VEO3 model, then you have to go here into labs.google. So there's labs.google, which has all the other so there's just so many different projects that and it kind of comes across like different companies to a certain extent, right? So I mean, there's a lot here to play with, and there's a lot to do. So expert knowledge delivered to AI coaches, starting with a personalized AI-powered coaching experience built alongside radical candor author Kim Scott. So let's see, what are all the different experiments? So portraits, flow, which is you can create videos using VEO3. You have quite a few. You have quite a few different projects that they're essentially like just trying to find all the different use cases. But again, like I said, it can become a bit overwhelming, and then it become a little bit confusing because again, like I said, you're just not entirely sure what platform to find what you need and what you want to do. So for me, when it comes to the Google, I have been using VEO3. I have been using Notebook LM. I did recently. I want to start using the Music FX. I do want to start. So I stumbled across Whisk. This is kind of like a tool where it allows for you to upload an image, and then it will take that image and it will ask you to then now select what type of scene you want, and then it will create a video using that image. And what came back was pretty decent. I'll let that load up. But so yeah, this is a creative flow. I think I already have some flows. Not sure why this is moving a little slow now. Let's give it a second. Should be good. I'll give it a second to see why it's loading up. But essentially, let's see what came back from that Gemini. So this is the video. This is leveraging VEO3. So this is the video that came back, right? So pretty cool. This looks amazing. This looks really good. VEO3 is super powerful, right? So that's the thing. Like I said, think about it. Like, and I'll play. It comes with sound too. So this is pretty amazing, right? Like, it was able to produce the video, added the sound that it thinks makes sense, pretty lifelike. Think about it. They've been able to train all of their video models on YouTube, and that is the place where so many videos, billions, I don't know how many videos at this point have been uploaded. This has been something, they can really corner this market. Like, they have the data there to really train on. I'm not sure why these other tools are taking so long to pop up, but they have the ability to really train on it. I'm going to start using VEO3 for something I'll go into a little later, but I think that this was a really big update. I think that Google, like I said, I think that they just need to get a better handle on how they sort of like present all of these different tools. How do they make it easy for a power user and a casual user to get their hands on all these tools in the right place at the right time. Like, the way you roll things out is super important, and like that changes how people will use it. Off the bat, VEO3 is better than Sora. I had Sora for a little bit, and they can be better at pricing, right? So I think that, like, to get access to the highest level of VEO3, I think it's like at $124 a month, but you also get so much more. Like, they bake Google One into it, so they have that the same way Apple has the upper hand when it comes to the physical products. Google has that reach, obviously, the pockets to kind of like offer more instead of like you paying ChatGPT and that's all you're getting. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how, the model first companies like a ChatGPT and Claude separate themselves from the big players like a Google and Apple and the others, to kind of like make packages that are more enticing to me, to us as end users, right? So so I think that those were some of the bigger updates on Google's end. Let me see what else came out there. No, it's not for this is what I'm looking for. So Gemini, Flash upgrades. So again, like we said, Gemini Live now integrates with Google Maps, calendar, tasks, allowing real-time conversation with camera or screen sharing input. So I want to see how this works. Gemini Live now is going to Google Maps. I wonder if this is maybe only on an Android device. I'm going to try this out to see exactly how that works. Seems pretty interesting. A creative space in Gemini app upgraded to generate something that's been there on other places. Why do you keep doing that? Go there. Google Workspace AI overhaul. So now essentially like your Gemini will start living again the same way Apple is doing it. It's going to start living in all of their docs, slides, forms, meets. So like just baking in this AI technology into the tools that we already were using, right? So again, that's a leg up, right? You know, you had third-party tools that popped up like, hey, we'll take AI. I'm on Zoom calls a lot, where hey, you know, we'll take notes for you, but if they bake it already into Google Meets, now maybe I use Google Meets more. I already do use Google Meets a lot, just because it's a free product, and you can get a lot of capabilities there. But now you can add note taking in there, so you know things like that. It adds another touch. So now you start thinking like, maybe I should pay for the Google One or something like that, right? They're going to come out with their own smart glasses to kind of compete with what Meta is doing, and then to a certain extent with Vision Pro. X-Rails Project Aura glasses and Samsung reference hardware support developers building XR apps. So I have a pair of X-Rails as well. I actually want to look into that more to see. I have a pair of X-Rails. I use them they're really cool for like I game on them, or like if I'm on a long flight and I want to watch a movie, you can just have the glasses right here. So it seems like, you know, Android is trying to get into that space, or they're partnering with X-Rail. So that'd be cool. So yeah, I think it was again. I think it was just these are all the tools. Like I said, there's just a lot of tools that they sort of like spread everything apart. So again, it just makes it a little tough to know exactly where you should go to get what you need. But they have a lot of great stuff that I'll kind of go into and show you how I'm using some of this stuff and how others can use it if they're not already using it that way. But yeah, man. So definitely some great news there. What I want to do next is I'm going to go into some of the stuff that we've been doing for some of my other ventures. Maybe give a demo around how some of that is working. Yeah, I'll give a demo and just show you how, like, manually how that can happen. But like, we're building flows that automate a lot of that stuff. So, let me pull up. So, yeah, I'll just jump right in. So, one of the ventures that I run is Curation Lounge, and essentially just kind of like, you know, give a backdrop again here. So, Curation Lounge is an AI powered personalization platform that essentially lets, you know, content creators and influencers harness their voice and their messaging and then scale it using AI, right? So our platform takes the persona of a content creator and then essentially turns it into a stylist for end users, and it can then now take the context of an end user's lifestyle, what they're into. They go through a survey when they first sign up. It takes that and it can continuously learn them, and then it can start shopping for them, start finding items that align with what they're looking for. But it would do it as the way that this stylist would do it, so it still has that personalized human touch. And you know, the platform itself is centered around styling right now, but we want to start building experiences. So this is something that, you know, this persona could then now start offering. Here's where you should go on a date. Here are some events that you should check out here. And then it could also execute, I'll buy these tickets, I'll purchase. So some of the stuff that you just saw that some of the bigger players are doing, but we're going with a more intimate approach. And we're going with an approach that essentially lets the content creators or tastemakers harness this power and do it in a way that's personalized and that fits into the lifestyle of the end users, right? So we did some updates to our landing page. Right now, we cater to both men and women, all sexes. We just added a couple more details just to kind of give some more transparency around like how do you get started. Like I said, when you want to start, you actually so I had already started the flow and then didn't finish. Let me do this just so you guys can kind of like see. Let me do this. I'll go ahead and do this. I'll just put in whatever. This would be like the end flow, right? So when you first get in, then you would come in and you would request to get your first fit set up. But I'm gonna log out and then I want to start it brand new, right? So like you kind of like go through the flow, and this is where we learn who you are. You kind of like let us know what type of items you're looking for, how tall are you, and then you do more once you get into the platform. But for right now, this is just like high levels, just so we can understand how to shop for you. And then the platform puts together a style profile for you, right? Like based on all this information, we can now judge to see like, okay, this is how the personas, these are how the personas should, fit you, and this is how they should sort of like shop for you. I'm just randomly picking stuff. Let's see what comes back. We'll go this down the line. What's your budget? What you are comfortable spending stuff on? And then now we create a persona for you that we then now will match with our influencers that we've partnered with to determine, okay, these are the influencers that make sense to start off with. You can always pick and choose and change that. And then we give you a highlight of, who these influencers are and, sort of like what their style is. These are 3 that we recommended to you. And then now you have the option to sign up. That's where we had before. And then now once you're signed up, then it becomes, so once you're logged in, then we have, so this is where we're using we're piecing together a lot of these toolings that I show you on this channel. We're piecing that together for influencers and for these personas, right? So like, let's take for example, this post, right? This post, these are AI generated images, pretty lifelike using Midjourney. We also then now generate posts that are, so yeah, everybody's feed would look different based on the influencers that you selected, based on how your style profile was set up, and based on how you interact with the app. So like this is showing me content that's centered around who I am and what I'm looking for, and it's dynamic, right? So as something that we're going to move down the road is that we want to integrate connecting your Instagram account with this, connecting other pieces of that show who you are uniquely online, so that the platform can learn and adapt to that, right? And then start generating content that has a real voice, right? So these posts are generated using both human and AI input, so that it comes across and it gives you a real genuine personalized approach, right? So like these are AI generated videos and content, and what we've done in the background, I think I've played this video before, but what we've done in the background is that we've took together platforms such as HeyGen, VEO3, 11 Labs, ChatGPT, Claude. So like I build a lot of integrations and API calls that allow for these videos to be created dynamically, again, that are more personalized to you, but leveraging the power of AI, right? So, and then you update, your closet, you add things to it. This is where you see the fits that we recommend, that the platform recommends for you. So so how we're using this for for so again, so let's say I'll go. So these are the curators that we currently have partnerships with. So Wadi's a great influencer that we're working with, and we have a YouTube series coming down the road where he interviewed us, and we're looking forward to releasing that and showing that to more people. But so essentially, like this persona, for him, what we can do is like we've created content that essentially, like I said, scales what he currently already does, right? So we have a whole persona in the background that we've built that we then now programmatically, so that this is all automated, we then now would go to a V3O and essentially just like show, hey, create a video that in sort of like this is the whisk tool, which I thought was pretty cool. I think I created some stuff with it. Create I have some stuff. Yeah, I just created some silly stuff. So like we could do things like, okay, this is an outfit that was generated using Zawadi's persona, right? This is how he would have potentially styled someone, but then now we could bring it to life, right? So like with tools like V3O, we then now say, hey, take this image, and then now we can start showing people, hey, here's how you would look actually wearing this outfit and walking down the street, right? So now as an end user, you really feel more personalized. You really feel like Zawadi now took the time out to kind of like really, understand who you are. And obviously the model that we have here is a client that we worked with, but like that, more descriptions that you put into Curation Lounge, the better, we can suit, in the style profile, where we're going to also add as the option, and then now also upload like images of yourself, so that then now we can start building sort of like representations of you, and then you would see things like that in your feed. So now you start to see how you look in this type of outfit, in that type of outfit, in this setting, in that setting, and then you can raise formal requests with whatever curator you want to work with, and then you can get styled. Now, when you get styled, it comes back with we scour the internet to find. We have Asiatic tooling in the background that does this within minutes. We also fine tune this so you don't get your results back immediately. So that's the difference between what we're doing and you're just going to ChatGPT, is that we then now still have that human approach there, where this is now being validated by. I'm in the market for a new computer chair, so anybody got any recommendations, let me know. So this outfit was fine-tuned. Like we came back with a subset of what we thought of, what our software thought was a good approach, and then we worked with the influencer to fine-tune it. So that's another piece that we're adding here, where it's still a human touch there, so that people feel like they're getting something that still feels like it was validated by the true stylist, right? And then now here on the platform, you can purchase the entire fit and you get more off of it, or you can just purchase one of the two items. We can give you an example of how, how you might look in that outfit, right? And then again, with a tool like, actually, let's go ahead and do that, right? Let's go ahead and see exactly, like, get an understanding of like how this was an example of a client, right? Based on information that they gave us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this image into, I'll upload it into the whisk tool that we were just using, right? Just to kind of show you, like, so now we do this on the back end programmatically, but this is just like how it would look if it were, manually, right? So this is what, like, another thing that our platform is really is aiming to do is let influencers get access to these tools in a way that they don't have to relearn the wheel and understand the technology. How can they start harnessing it quickly and get it into their workflows, and then start monetizing off of it? So we're building those things. So we're learning in real time what tool sets will make sense, because obviously they can come in here and do some of this stuff, but like how can we build things that make it simpler, right? So we'll say at a fancy restaurant in Midtown Manhattan, right? So that's a scene. So you would be able to add images if you wanted to, and then now we could say, so the style, I think you can leave this blank if you want, but yeah, that's a scene that we're looking for. Let me see. So then now, generate your combined. So no, we don't need another context. So then what it does is first it generates the image, right? So it generates the subject that we put together in the setting, right? So then now we take that and we say we want to animate it, right? So out of these two, I'll go with this one. Now we say we want to animate it, right? So then now we say, man walking to his table, confidently with his date. So now, so we'll let that cook. And so now basically with this flow using the whisk tool manually, this is the type of flow that we automate for our influencers. We now then whatever comes back from here, what we do on the curation lounge side is that we would add that video into the platform programmatically, so that the end user can see, oh, here's the outfit that this stylist recommended for me. Here's a setting that I could wear it to. Here's how I kind of look in it, so that try on feature. So we're tying this all together so that you can see it all in one place. So really, it's a combination of convenience and also, better integration, right? So again, I believe it's using the VEO3 tooling, but let's see how it looks. So cool. So now you get to see, kind of what that flow looks like, which is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool, pretty cool integration there. Kind of like sets a scene for you, lets you get understanding of like, oh, here's how I could look on this date. Here's the vibe I would go with. Here's how my style would look. So all in all, like we're piecing all of that together for our end users. And we're looking really forward to like showing this to more and more of our end users and showing them how we can take their, so the new flow and what AI is unlocking, I'm probably gonna end on this note, is that, Web 2.0 was you going to the web and searching for things like, hey, I want this, what is that, what is this? The new web powered with AI is that you tell the web who you are as much as you want to, and the web will start coming to you. And that's really what Curation Lounge is. The more that you update your style profile and you interact with it, we will start building and finding what suits who you are and make it super easy and have it all in one location. So, definitely looking forward to a lot of stuff that we got coming down the pipe. Definitely try out a lot of these tools that we showed here. Like I said, follow along, check out our blog posts, check out our links here, follow the channels, and always feel free to drop any questions or any any topics that you guys would want us to cover. One last thing I want to touch on, and this is how we're going to sort of like get the word out on what we're doing the curation side more, is that we go ahead and we do like upfront research using AI agents and deep research to find the potential influencers that we want to work with, and we generate these one pages for them that essentially lets them know like where they're at right now, how Curation Lounge can help them, and what type of content Curation Lounge would create for them, right? So like based on their persona, here's the kind of outfits that your persona would generate for a potential client. Here's the kind of lifestyle recommendations your persona would generate. And like I said, we're going to add some of those videos that we see here. And then on the other side of the platform is that influencers can sign up to basically get access to this automated tooling so that they can start monetizing their content more and then offer to their own following they can now become a personalized shopper, a personalized stylist, a personalized life recommender. But they can do it at scale, and they can do it in a way that fits into their lifestyle, fits into their schedule and their time, and also fits into their followers' time. So, definitely check out what we got going on in the Curation Lounge side. We're going to start creating more content on our channels there. Yeah, man. So definitely, we're going to, like I said, we're always going to find the right times to kind of like jump on. But thanks for joining. Peace.